would have made it.
Hello, my name is Shannon, and I decided to come on and share my pregnancy journey as well as my journey as a new mom, as a light for those women who are going through a challenging pregnancy or will go through, unfortunately, a challenging pregnancy, and then becoming a new mom on top of healing from a challenging pregnancy. I decided to do this channel because in my journey I felt isolated. One, because all my friends, everyone that I know, no one had the journey I did, and then their kids are all older, they're preteens and teenagers, so no one even remembered their journey, even if it was challenging, but they had beautiful pregnancies. I'm in my 30s, and I don't know if that has to do anything with it, but I definitely dealt with unforeseen challenges that no one expected. So I decided to be that light and that voice for other moms that are going through a challenging time during their pregnancy or as a new mom. Social media usually, they do more glamorizing of pregnancy than sharing the ugly side. So I decided to go ahead and tell that truth. I dealt with a condition called Hyperemesis Gravidarum on top of having fibroids, which then led to dehydration and ligament burning, and IVs almost every day, a lot of pain, weakness. It was just horrifying. So in this video, I'll break down what each condition was. So let's start from the beginning. So the way I found out I was pregnant, I was feeling funny in my stomach. I knew I had the fibroid, so I just figured it was the fibroid being a fibroid. But then I started spotting, but then I'm like, all right, that's my period, whatever. But then it stopped. It only spotted for like one day, and then it stopped. So I just figured it was my period just being my period once again. So that was a Monday, and then by the Friday, I started spotting again. So I'm like, okay, this is weird. And then my stomach felt funny again. So I called my friend Lauren because we knew someone that had passed from a stomach issue. And so I wanted to know if she had any input or knew what was the signs of that stomach issue or what have you. And she didn't, and her suggestion was to get a pregnancy test. It either was that I was pregnant or it was a fibroid, so she suggested I get a pregnancy test. And I'm like, girl, I'm not pregnant. I'm not getting no test. So that was the end of that. So then I called my best friend Keisha, and she's like, yeah, I think you should get the test just to make sure. And I was like, okay, whatever. So that must have been, I forget what day of the week it was, but it was at nighttime. So the next day I get a text from Lauren, and she's like, did you get the test, or what did the test say? Something like that. And I'm like, what test? And then she's like, the pregnancy test. And I'm like, girl, I'm not getting no pregnancy test. And then I carried on with my day. Then by nighttime, I felt funny again. So I'm like, by the time I got off work, I felt funny. So I'm like, okay, that reminded me about the pregnancy test. So then I called my best friend Keisha, who's a nurse, by the way. And she's like, just go get the test. So I went and got a test for $1, the cheap ones with the lines. Took the test, and it had one dark line, but the second line was just way too light for me to be convinced. So I called Keisha, and I'm like, Keisha, I'm not understanding this, because even though the packaging says one line can be lighter, I don't get it. Like, nope, this is way too light. I'm not pregnant, so what do you think? And she's like, Shannon, that's 2 lines, which meant pregnancy. And I'm like, no, I'm not convinced. And she said, no, you need to get the test that says the word pregnant. So I'm like, I am not paying, I was going to say $30 for a test, but as soon as I said Keisha cashed at me the $30 for the doggone test. So I had to go get the test. Long story short, I get the test, and Keisha makes me take it in front of her via FaceTime, and I'm pregnant. I froze in my tracks. I just didn't know. I didn't think. Like, I was just there. I didn't know anything at the moment. I was just like, whoa. So, yes, that's how I found that I was pregnant. Now, the next part was to tell the mister. Just because we had spoken about having kids, but this was after years and being established, and we had this whole plan about when we would have kids, yada, yada, yada. So I was a little nervous because he's a businessman, and he's more into making money at the moment, which we all are, but he's very orderly. So I was a little nervous that he would be a little upset, so I wasn't sure of how to tell him. So I found out actually 2 days before Adrian's birthday, but he was in California doing a job. So now I'm like, okay, do I tell him now over the phone, or do I wait until he comes back? So I said, you know what? His birthday's in 2 days. I'll wait until he comes back and present it to him somehow.
Pregnant? No way. What? Oh my goodness.
Aww.
Wow. Where is it at?
So this little spot here is the sac. So you can't really see the baby yet because I'm too soon. So Wednesday is my first official ultrasound.
What? Is a baby in there?
So that went well, thank God. So the next order of duty was a doctor's appointment. Now, I had made the doctor's appointment. I forgot to mention it earlier that I had made the doctor's appointment when I wasn't feeling well. So I was going in for fibroids. So now I know I'm pregnant. I'm like, okay, I'll just tell them tomorrow at the doctor's appointment. I get to the doctor's and I explain to them that I did come in for a potential fibroid issue, but I just found out I'm pregnant. So apparently they didn't relay that to the doctor on duty, who I never met. And she came in the room looking around like, why is this computer here, like the ultrasound computer? And I said, I don't know. The lady brought it in. Like, I don't know. So then she's trying to look through my notes, but she's only seeing that there's a fibroid, and she's not seeing anything about being pregnant. So then finally it clicked, like, let her know why you're here, Shannon. So I told her that I did come in for a potential fibroid issue, but it turns out I'm pregnant. So then everything clicks for her. However, that didn't make it any better. So she turns on this computer, looked like it was made in like 1822. And she tries to see, she does the ultrasound on the stomach and tries to see what's going on. But of course, I'm too early, so she couldn't really see anything. So she has to do the camera that goes inside of you. So this may be graphic, but it's my story. So she puts the camera inside of me, hits a button on the computer, the whole system shuts down. Mind you, the camera's still inside of me. So she's like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Do you want me to take it out and then put it back in once I reboot? And I'm like, no, just hurry up and get it rebooted so we can see what's going on. Long story even shorter. Every question I asked her, her answer was, I don't know. And then she saw the fibroid. She saw the fibroid because it was big. And then all she spoke about was having a miscarriage. When I have a miscarriage, this is how it's going to go. This is how it's going to feel. This is what you'll see. And then call us immediately. So needless to say, that was a dreadful beginning and start to it pretty much set the tone for the rest of the pregnancy, basically. So about 4 days after I found out I was pregnant and had that horrific first appointment, it went downhill from there. 4 days later, I started throwing up nonstop, which is when I was diagnosed with Hyperemesis Gravidarum, which is a persistent severe vomiting leading to weight loss and dehydration during pregnancy. I literally could not hold anything. I couldn't water, threw up, my own saliva, threw up, nothing. Everyone, had suggestions that worked for them. Nothing worked for me. It was horrifying. And because I couldn't hold anything down, including liquids, it led to dehydration, which then led to my ligaments burning all over my body. Just was. It felt like someone was slicing every ligament in my body with a knife. That's how it felt, all over. I could not walk. I could not move. I couldn't do anything. I was too weak because, again, I have no energy because I can't eat because everything I eat is coming up. So there's no food in my body. My body's in pain from the ligaments. So now I have to get IVs every day for the dehydration. Well, almost every day, I should say, for the dehydration so that I can stay hydrated so that nothing would happen to my baby. It was horrifying. I had just gained and reached my goal weight right before I got pregnant. So I was loving my body. I was finally looking like an adult, sort of, kind of, just because I had put on the weight I wanted, and I lost all that immediately. So that was depressing. Just not being able to be myself, be independent. I couldn't feed myself. I couldn't bathe myself. I could barely hold my phone. I couldn't pick up keys. I was just so weak. I was bedridden. My skin became flaky dry and flaky because I was just so dehydrated. I had lost so much weight that I was put on starvation watch, and I had to set an appointment for a PICC line. Now, a PICC line is something that you do not want. I don't even like talking about it. So the way you spell it is PICC line. You can look it up to see what it is. But I prayed and prayed and prayed and prayed that I would not have to get the PICC line. And thankfully, 3 days before I was supposed to get the PICC line, I had gained 3 pounds. So the doctor said, all right, since you gained these little pounds, we'll hold off on the PICC line, thank God. But it was still really rough because it'll be a day where I can eat one thing and that'll stay, but then if I eat something else, I'll just throw everything up. So it was to the point where I had to, like I said earlier, every medication, no medication worked that they prescribed to me. They even prescribed suppositories, which is medication that you would have to take anally, being that I couldn't digest it the normal way, and that didn't even work. So it was only God that gave me those 3 pounds so I wouldn't have to do the PICC line, and I would never wish that on no one. So on top of dealing with hyperemesis and everything that entailed, I had the fibroids. Now I knew I had one big one, but of course with the hormones and with the baby growing, it started getting even bigger. It started to grow with the baby, and then I gained another one. So I had these 2 fibroids, and I had a baby growing in me simultaneously. So that caused anxiety and fear that it would suffocate my baby. And I would just pray against it every day. And every time I would get checked, I would believe that those fibroids would shrink. And after a while, in my 3rd trimester, one disappeared out of nowhere, and the other one stopped growing. So it grew to about 16 centimeters, and then it stopped. and it was located in a place that didn't affect my daughter at all. So I thank God for that. So needless to say, how sick I was with the hyperemesis, the weight loss, the weakness, I couldn't work. So I was put on bed rest for a total of 10 months, and of course lost my job because of that. But here's how they did it. So the regional office calls I was leasing at the time, so the regional office called me and basically they terminated me, but asked me to come back once I have the baby. No. So yeah, that was the end of that. And actually in the state of Pennsylvania, they can do that because it's an at-will state. So I had no fight or argument in court. So I was too sick anyway. So I just said, okay, cool. I don't have to worry about having to get up to go to work feeling like this. I mean, I couldn't anyway. I couldn't walk. I couldn't drive. I couldn't do anything. So whatever. God happens, and all our bills were paid, still are being paid. We never went hungry. We never went dead broke. So God is good. So first trimester again was, let's sum this up: Hyperemesis Gravidarum Fibroids starting to grow more and gaining another one. Dehydration, ligament burning, IVs almost every day, starvation watch, and this ultrasound that told the doctors that I'm going to have a miscarriage. So then the second doctor's visit, I guess it was a little better because I saw my baby's heartbeat. Like I saw the heartbeat, so that was amazing. However, the baby looked weird. The hand, like she had, was that the second or? Yeah. Her body was normal. You could see her hands and her legs and like her stomach and everything. You know, you just see them squirming a little bit. But her head just looked like, it looked like a head and then two horns coming out her head. It was the most, I have goosebumps just thinking about it now. It haunted me for months because I kept Googling, other ultrasounds at that point. I think it was like 8 weeks. Like, what does it look like? What is it supposed to look like? What's the common way it looks? And no one's looked like mine. But then you'll see, Google opens up a whole new world. So then you see other babies with other head situations, but they were actually deformities. So now I'm thinking my baby has a deformity. It was just horrifying. I mean, I would lose sleep about this. I would cry a lot about it. Just thinking that my baby had something wrong with her head. No one can tell me she didn't have anything wrong with her head until my second trimester.